The Hare and the Tortoise. One sunny morning, all the animals of the forest gathered near the meadow. The hare was hopping around proudly. "I'm the fastest animal in this whole forest," he bragged. "No one can ever beat me in a race." The little tortoise, who was quietly munching on a leaf, looked up and smiled. "I may be slow, Hare," he said calmly, "but I can race you if you'd like." The hare burst into laughter. "You race me? You'll take a week to reach the finish line." But the tortoise nodded. "Let's see who wins. Shall we race tomorrow morning?" The next day, the animals gathered again. Birds cheered from the trees, and the fox stood as the referee. "On your marks, get set, go!" shouted the fox. The hare shot off like a rocket, leaping over rocks and bushes. The tortoise started slowly, one steady step at a time. "This is too easy," laughed the hare, looking back. "That tortoise is miles behind." Feeling proud, the hare decided to take a short nap under a shady tree. "I'll rest for a few minutes and still win easily," he thought. Meanwhile, the tortoise kept moving, slowly but steadily. Step by step, he passed the tree where the hare was sleeping. The forest animals whispered, "Look, the tortoise is ahead now." The tortoise didn't stop. His shell was heavy and the sun was hot, but he kept going. "Slow and steady wins the race," he whispered to himself. After a long nap, the hare woke up and stretched. "Time to finish this race," he said, hopping quickly toward the finish line. But as he came closer, he couldn't believe his eyes. The tortoise was just about to cross the line. The hare ran as fast as he could, but it was too late. The tortoise crossed the finish line first. All the animals clapped and cheered. "Hooray for Tortoise! Hooray for patience and effort!" The hare hung his head. "I shouldn't have been so proud," he said. "You really deserve the win." The tortoise smiled kindly. "It's okay, Hare. Maybe next time we can race again, but no naps in between." And from that day on, the hare learned to never underestimate anyone, and the tortoise became a hero for proving that steady effort always wins in the end. Bread Man, a lesson on cleverness and trust. Once upon a time, in a cozy little cottage by the woods, lived an old woman and an old man. One chilly morning, the old woman said, "I'll bake something sweet to cheer us up." She mixed flour, sugar, and ginger, humming happily as she stirred the bowl. Then she rolled the dough flat and shaped it into a cheerful little man. "There, my gingerbread man," she said proudly, adding raisin eyes and a bright cherry mouth. She slid the tray into the warm oven and waited. Soon, the smell of ginger and sugar filled the kitchen. But as she opened the oven door, pop! Out jumped the gingerbread man. "Run! Run as fast as you can! You can't catch me! I'm the gingerbread man!" he shouted, laughing. The old woman gasped. "Stop! Come back! I baked you!" The gingerbread man ran past her and dashed out the door. The old man grabbed his hat and shouted, "Come back, little cookie!" But the gingerbread man only laughed louder. "Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man." He raced down the path, his sugar buttons sparkling in the sunlight. A cow grazing nearby saw him and mooed, "Stop, little man. I'd like to eat you." The gingerbread man giggled. "I ran away from an old woman and an old man, and I can run away from you too." "Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man." The cow ran after him, but the gingerbread man was too quick. Next, he met a horse by the road. "Nay," said the horse. "Stop, little cookie. I'd like a bite." The gingerbread man laughed. "I ran away from a cow, an old man, and an old woman. I can run away from you too." And off he went again, shouting his song. "Run, run, as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man." Soon he came to a field where a group of farmers were working. "Look, a running cookie!" one of them shouted. "Catch him!" yelled another, but he was already too far ahead. The gingerbread man shouted over his shoulder, "You can't catch me! I'm the gingerbread man!" He laughed so hard that sugar crumbs sprinkled from his sides. He met a clever fox sitting by the water. "Well, hello there, little cookie," said the fox. "Where are you rushing off to?" The gingerbread man puffed proudly. "I've outrun an old woman, an old man, a cow, a horse, and some farmers. You can't catch me either." The fox smiled slyly. "Oh, I wouldn't dream of chasing you. But where will you go now? There's a river ahead." The gingerbread man stopped running. "A river?" he said nervously. "I can't swim. I'll melt." "No problem," said the fox gently. "Climb on my tail. I'll take you across safely." The gingerbread man hesitated, but then hopped onto the fox's tail. The fox stepped into the water and began to swim. "You're too heavy on my tail," said the fox. "Climb onto my back." The gingerbread man climbed up a bit. After a few moments, the fox said softly, "The water is getting deeper. You'd better climb to my head." The gingerbread man carefully crawled up to the fox's nose. Just as they reached the middle of the river, the fox suddenly tossed his head back. Snap! The fox opened his mouth wide and gobbled the gingerbread man in one bite. The river rippled quietly as crumbs floated downstream. The fox licked his lips and said, still warm from the oven." Soon the old woman and old man arrived at the riverbank, looking around sadly. "Oh dear," said the old woman. "He was such a sweet little fellow." The old man nodded. "Yes, but perhaps next time we'll eat our cookies before they run away." And so ended the tale of the gingerbread man, who ran as fast as he could, but trusted the wrong friend. Be clever, but not foolish. Don't trust everyone who smiles kindly. 3 Little Pigs. Hard work builds lasting safety. Once upon a sunny morning, 3 little pigs set out to build their own homes. Mama Pig waved goodbye and said warmly, "Remember, my children, build wisely and work hard." The first pig, Pip, laughed. "Don't worry, Mama, I'll be done before lunch." The second pig, Pop, grinned. "Me too. Then we can play in the sunshine all day." The third pig, Puck, said, "I'll build a strong house that will last forever." Pip skipped along the path, humming, until he found a meadow full of straw. "Perfect!" Pip cheered. "It's light and easy. I'll be done in a flash." Pop spotted a pile of sticks nearby. "Even better," he said, clapping his hooves. Puck walked farther until he reached a pile of red bricks shining under the sun. "Bricks," he said proudly. "They'll take time, but they'll keep me safe." Pip built his straw house quickly, stacking bundle after bundle. He twirled and sang, "Done! Now I can nap all day!" Pop tied his sticks together and shouted, "Strong enough for me!" Meanwhile, Puck worked slowly, one brick at a time, with care and focus. He said softly, "Hard work now means peace later." One windy afternoon, a shadow crept through the trees. It was the big bad wolf, hungry and sly. The wolf sniffed the air and growled, "Ah, I smell pigs." He crept to Pip's straw house and knocked loudly. Knock, knock, knock! Little pig, let me come in," the wolf said in a deep voice. Pip squeaked, "No, not by the hair on my chinny chin." "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." Puff! Whew! The straw flew in all directions. Pip screamed, "Ah, my house!" and ran down the path in panic. He reached Pop's stick house. "Pop, the wolf is coming!" Pop gasped and opened the door. "Quick, get inside, Pip." The wolf stomped up to the stick house and knocked again. Bang! Bang! Little pigs, let me come in," he growled. "No, not by the hair on our chinny chins," they shouted together. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," the wolf roared. Puff! The sticks rattled, cracked, and fell apart. Pip and Pop shrieked, "Run!" and sprinted toward Puck's brick house. Puck saw them and opened the heavy door. "Come in, brothers, you're safe here." They slammed the door shut as the wolf's shadow loomed outside. The wolf grinned wickedly. "3 pigs in one house. How convenient." He shouted, little pigs, let me come in." "No, not by the hair on our chinny chin chins," the pigs yelled. The wolf took a deep breath. Puff, puff, but the house didn't move. He tried again, harder this time. Puff, still nothing. "What kind of house is this?" the wolf groaned, panting. "Inside," Pip whispered, "he can't blow it down." Pop giggled nervously. "This house is amazing." Puck smiled calmly. Hard work always pays off. The wolf scowled. "If I can't blow it down, I'll sneak in another way." He looked up and saw the chimney. "Aha! That's my way in." Inside, Puck heard faint scratching above. He's climbing the roof. "Quick, help me light the fire," said Puck firmly. They tossed wood into the fireplace. Crackle, snap, flames danced brightly. Growling, the wolf climbed down the chimney, whispering, "Dinner time." Whoosh! Smoke and sparks rose up suddenly. "Yow!" The wolf screamed and shot out of the chimney like a rocket. He landed in the dirt, tail smoking, and ran into the forest howling. "He won't come back soon," laughed Pip. "Your brick house saved us, Puck," said Pop with relief. Puck smiled kindly. "See? Patience and hard work build safety." "I'll never build with straw again," Pip said firmly. Pop nodded. "And I'll never rush my work again." They cleaned the room, then sat by the warm fire together. Puck raised his cup. "To hard work." "To teamwork," Pop said cheerfully. "And to no more wolves," laughed Pip. The stars twinkled above their cozy brick house that night. Puck whispered, "Good night, brothers. You're safe now." Outside, the wind was gentle and calm again. "Next time, I'll find pigs without bricks," howled the wolf far away. The 3 little pigs giggled in their sleep, dreaming of sunny mornings. And from that day on, they lived happily ever after in their brick home. Everyone in the forest remembered the lesson that day. Hard work may take time, but it builds safety that lasts forever. Lion and the mouse, even the smallest can help the mighty. Once upon a time, in a vast green jungle, a mighty lion slept peacefully under a tall tree. Nearby, a little mouse was playing, running up and down the roots of the same tree. While chasing a butterfly, the mouse accidentally ran across the lion's paw. Roar! The lion woke up, angry and surprised. He caught the mouse under his large paw and said fiercely, "How dare you wake me, tiny creature?" "Please forgive me, mighty lion. I didn't mean to disturb you." "Why should I spare you? You are too small to be of any use to me." "If you let me go, I promise I'll help you one day." "You help me? You are far too tiny." But looking at the trembling mouse, the lion's heart softened. "Go then, little one. I'll let you live this time." "Thank you, noble lion. I will never forget your kindness." Days passed, and the lion wandered through the jungle proudly as the king of beasts. One morning, while chasing a deer, he got trapped in a hunter's strong net. "Help! Somebody, help me!" His powerful roars echoed through the forest, reaching far and wide. The little mouse heard the sound and said anxiously, "That's my friend, the lion. He's in trouble." Without wasting a moment, the mouse ran as fast as he could toward the sound. When he reached the lion, he saw the great beast tangled in ropes. "Little friend, I am caught. The hunters will return soon." "Don't worry, my king. I'll help you just like I promised." He climbed onto the net and began to nibble the ropes with his sharp little teeth. Nibble, 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 the ropes started to loosen. The lion watched in amazement as the tiny mouse worked tirelessly. Soon, the last rope snapped and the lion was free again. The lion stretched and said gratefully, "Little friend, I was wrong to underestimate you. Even the smallest creature can help the mightiest one." The lion bowed his head humbly and said kindly, "You have taught me that size doesn't decide strength." From that day, the lion and the mouse became the best of friends. They often walked through the forest together, the mighty lion and his tiny companion. The other animals watched in wonder and said, "Look how friendship unites the strong and the small." A kind act never goes unrewarded. And even the smallest can help the mighty. The forest echoed with their laughter and friendship. Kindness is never wasted. Even the smallest can make a big difference. Grasshopper, work today, rest tomorrow. Once upon a time, in a sunny meadow, lived a cheerful grasshopper who loved to sing all day long. Nearby, a group of hard-working ants spent their days gathering food and storing it deep inside their anthill. The grasshopper hopped around happily, playing his fiddle and singing to the breeze. He laughed and called out to the ants, "Why are you working so hard on such a beautiful day? Come sing with me." An ant carrying a heavy grain of rice stopped and said patiently, "We are storing food for the winter. You should do the same." The grasshopper waved his hand and replied, "Winter is far away. There's plenty of food everywhere." The ants shook their heads and continued their work silently. Day after day, the ants collected seeds, grains, and leaves, while the grasshopper sang, danced, and rested under the sun. He often teased them, saying, "You ants are missing all the fun in life. Work today, rest tomorrow. You'll understand when winter comes." The grasshopper chuckled and played his fiddle even louder. Summer passed, and soon the sky turned gray as cold winds swept across the meadow. The leaves fell, and the once green fields turned brown and bare. "It's getting colder every day." He hopped around looking for food, but found nothing anywhere. The trees were empty, and the ground was frozen hard. He remembered the ants and said regretfully, "Maybe I should have worked like them." Hungry and cold, he followed the trail of ants to their anthill. He knocked gently on the tiny door and called out weakly, "Dear ants, may I please have some food and warmth?" Inside, the ants were sitting comfortably, sharing food and staying warm. One ant recognized the voice and said kindly, "Ah, our singing friend! What brings you here in this cold?" The grasshopper bowed his head and said honestly, "I spent the summer singing and forgot to prepare for winter. Now I am hungry and freezing." The ants looked at one another and whispered softly. Then their leader came forward and said gently, "You are welcome to stay with us for now, but remember this lesson well." The grasshopper nodded gratefully and said, "I have learned. From now on, I will work first and sing later." The ants gave him some warm grains and a cozy place near their fire pit. The grasshopper thanked them again and whispered, "You ants are wise and kind. I will not waste my time again." The rest of the winter, he helped the ants gather twigs, clean tunnels, and sing cheerful songs after work. When spring returned, the meadow was filled with flowers again. The ants marched out to collect food, and this time the grasshopper joined them. He said cheerfully to a young ant, "Work first, then music. That's the secret to happiness." The young ant smiled and said, "You've learned well, my friend." Together they worked through the warm days and sang together in the evenings. No one teased anyone anymore. They had found balance between work and joy. The meadow echoed with laughter, music, and the rustle of busy ants. The grasshopper became the meadow's favorite musician and teacher of hard work. Every time a young insect complained about work, he would smile and say, "Work today, rest tomorrow." The ants nodded proudly, knowing their friend had changed for the better. The meadow thrived again, full of life, music, and wisdom. Moral: hard work brings comfort, and preparation today ensures happiness tomorrow. Ant and the snake. Small is not always powerless. Once upon a time, in a quiet forest beside a stream, lived a tiny ant colony under the roots of a tree. The ants were small but brave, always working together to gather food and protect their home. Not far away, a large snake lived in a rocky hole by the riverbank. The snake was feared by all animals for his sharp fangs and strong body. One morning, as the ant queen sent her workers to collect grains, she saw the snake basking in the sun. "We must stay far away from him. He could crush us in one move." But the snake ignored them and continued to warm himself under the golden sunlight. Days passed, and one afternoon, the snake slithered into the forest to hunt. As he moved near a bush, he accidentally stepped on a sharp thorn. "This hurts," and tried to twist around to remove it. But the thorn was deep in his tail, and he could not reach it. He struggled for hours until he grew weak and tired. The ant queen, watching from her tree root, said to her soldiers, "We should help him. Kindness knows no size." "But he's dangerous. What if he attacks us?" "He is in pain. Even the mighty need help sometimes." Obeying their queen, the ants crawled carefully toward the snake. They climbed onto his tail and saw the thorn stuck deep between his scales. Working together, they bit around the wound gently and pulled the thorn free. The snake winced but stayed still, trusting their tiny efforts. Finally, with a little tug, the thorn came out. The snake sighed in relief and said softly, "You saved me, little ones. I owe you my life." The ant queen replied humbly, "We only did what is right. No creature is too small to do good." From that day, the snake promised never to harm the ants again. He even warned other animals not to disturb the anthill. Weeks later, while the snake was sleeping near the tree, a hungry eagle swooped down from the sky. The eagle grabbed the snake in its claws and began to rise high into the air. The ants below saw the danger and shouted, "The eagle is taking our friend!" Without wasting a moment, the ant army climbed up the tree and bit the eagle's legs sharply. The eagle screeched in pain and dropped the snake to the ground. The snake landed safely in the soft grass and slithered away quickly. He looked up at the ants and said gratefully, "You saved me again. Truly, strength is not about size, but courage." The ant queen smiled and said wisely, We helped you because friendship is built on gratitude, not fear." From then on, the snake guarded the anthill from danger and shared his shade during the hot days. The ants, in return, always warned him of hunters and predators nearby. The forest animals often said, "Look, even the smallest can protect the mighty." The snake and the ants lived together peacefully, bound by respect and kindness. One evening, the ant queen looked up at the stars and whispered, "No one is ever too small to make a big difference." The wind carried her words gently across the forest, reminding all creatures of the truth. Small is not always powerless. Courage, kindness, and unity make the greatest strength. The fox and the grapes. It's easy to despise what you can't have. Once upon a time, in a warm countryside filled with vineyards, a hungry fox wandered in search of food. The sun was high, and his stomach growled loudly after hours of walking. He sniffed the air and caught the sweet scent of ripe grapes hanging from a vine. The fox looked up and saw bunches of juicy purple grapes hanging high over a trellis. His mouth watered as he said eagerly to himself, "Ah, those grapes look delicious, just what I need." He crouched low, wagged his tail, and leapt into the air to reach the grapes. But they were far too high. His paws just brushed the leaves. He landed on the ground with a thud and tried again. Jump! Still too high. He stepped back, took a running start, and leapt even higher this time. For a moment, he thought he might catch them, but once again, he missed and fell hard on the dusty road. The fox panted and muttered, "These vines are taller than they look." He looked around for a rock or a stump to climb, but there was none. He jumped again and again, higher, harder, faster, but still failed each time. Finally, the exhausted fox lay down under the vine, panting heavily. He stared up at the grapes, shining like rubies in the sunlight. They're probably sour anyway. He flicked his tail and added proudly, "Who needs such bitter fruit? I wouldn't eat them even if I could reach them." Then he turned away and walked off with his nose in the air, pretending not to care. But deep inside, his stomach growled louder than ever. "Those grapes looked sweet to me, Mr. Fox." "Sweet? Bah! Only fools chase after what they can't have." Or maybe wise ones admit when something is out of reach. The fox said nothing and walked away faster. His pride hurt more than his hunger. As the sun set, the grapes shimmered above the empty path, untouched and perfect. It's easy to despise what you can't have, but true wisdom lies in accepting your limits. The donkey in the lion's skin. Clothes may disguise a fool, but his words betray him. Once upon a time, in a peaceful village near a dense forest, lived a donkey who worked for a kind washerman. Every day, the donkey carried heavy loads of clothes to the river and back, braying loudly along the way. "I'm tired of being a simple donkey. Everyone laughs at me." One day, while wandering near the edge of the forest, he found a lion's skin lying on the ground. It was old and dusty, left behind by hunters long ago. The donkey's eyes sparkled with excitement as he said proudly, "If I wear this, everyone will fear me." He draped the lion's skin over himself and looked at his reflection in a pond. "Oh, I look just like a real lion." Feeling proud, he walked through the forest with slow, majestic steps. When the forest animals saw him, they froze in terror and ran away, shouting, "A lion! A lion!" The donkey laughed silently and thought, "This is wonderful! Everyone respects me now." He roamed around freely, scaring deer, monkeys, and even foxes. Each time, he puffed out his chest and said proudly to himself, "At last, I am powerful." For days, the donkey enjoyed his new disguise and all the attention it brought. One afternoon, he entered a nearby village where people saw the lion from a distance and ran into their homes in fear. The donkey chuckled inside the lion's skin and thought, "Even humans fear me now." He strutted around the village, enjoying his false glory. But then, a cool breeze blew and tickled his nose. "Hee-haw! Hee-haw!" The villagers stopped running and turned back in shock. "Wait, that's no lion, that's a donkey in disguise." Everyone laughed loudly and began throwing sticks and stones at him. The donkey ran back toward the forest, his pride crushed and the lion's skin torn. When the forest animals saw him again, they too laughed and said, "You may wear a lion's skin, but you'll always sound like a donkey." Ashamed, the donkey hid behind a bush and whispered to himself, "I tried to be someone I'm not, and now everyone knows the truth." Just then, an old wise fox walked up and said calmly, "Remember, friend, clothes may disguise a fool, but his words will always betray him." "You're right. I should have been proud of who I am." From that day on, he never pretended again and worked happily as himself. The forest animals respected him for his honesty and humility. The wise fox often told young cubs his story, ending with a smile. True worth lies not in appearance, but in character. Clothes may disguise a fool, but his words betray him. Be proud of who you are. The Little Red Hen, the reward of hard work and helping hands. Once upon a time, on a peaceful little farm, there lived a cheerful little red hen. She spent her days clucking happily and caring for her tiny yellow chicks. One sunny morning, while pecking near the barn, she found a handful of golden wheat seeds. "Oh my," she said, "if I plant these, we could have fresh bread someday." She looked around and called, "Who will help me plant these seeds?" "Not I," said the dog, stretching in the sun. "Not I," yawned the cat, curling her tail by the fence. "Not I," oinked the pig, rolling in the mud with a grin. The little red hen sighed but smiled. "Then I will do it myself." She scratched the soil, dropped the seeds, and watered them carefully. Days turned to weeks, and the seeds sprouted into tall green wheat. The hen looked at the waving stalks and clapped her wings happily. "Now it's time to harvest the wheat," she said. "Who will help me cut the wheat?" she called out again. "Not I," barked the dog from under the tree. "Not I," purred the cat, polishing her paws. "Not I," grunted the pig, munching on leftover corn. The little red hen shook her head gently. "Then I will do it myself." She cut the wheat stalks one by one, humming a cheerful tune. Snip, snip, snip went her beak as she worked through the field. By evening, she had gathered a tall, golden bundle of wheat. "Now the wheat must be ground into flour," she said thoughtfully. "Who will help me carry it to the mill?" she called. "Not I," growled the dog, wagging his tail lazily. "Not I," meowed the cat, licking her whiskers. "Not I," snorted the pig, splashing in the puddle. The hen nodded kindly. "Then I will do it myself." She carried the heavy wheat to the mill, step by step, until she returned with soft white flour. She smiled proudly. "Now I can bake some bread." "Who will help me bake the bread?" she asked brightly. "Not I," mumbled the dog in his sleep. "Not I," said the cat, stretching lazily. "Not I," said the pig, yawning loudly. "Then I will do it myself," said the little red hen cheerfully. She mixed the flour with water, added yeast and salt, and kneaded the dough carefully. Pat, pat, pat went her wings as she shaped the soft loaf. She placed it in the oven, and soon the smell of warm bread filled the air. It smells delicious," said the hen, fluttering her wings. The dog lifted his nose. "What's that wonderful smell?" The cat sniffed. "It smells like fresh, tasty bread." The pig's stomach rumbled. "I'm starving." They all ran to the hen's kitchen eagerly. The little red hen placed the golden loaf on the table. "Who will help me eat the bread?" she asked kindly. "I will," barked the dog quickly. I will, purred the cat, licking her lips. I will, squealed the pig, hopping with excitement. The little red hen shook her head. No, you will not. You did not help me plant, harvest, carry, or bake, so I will eat it myself. The dog's ears drooped. The cat looked down. The pig sighed sadly. The hen sliced the bread and shared it with her chicks instead. Crunch, munch, yum, went the happy little family. The smell of fresh bread filled the air as the others watched quietly. Finally, the dog said softly, "Next time, I'll help." The cat nodded. Me too. I've learned my lesson. The pig added, "Hard work looks much better than hunger." The hen smiled warmly. Good. When we all help, we all share. The next morning, she found more wheat seeds in the field. Who will help me plant these? She asked again. The dog barked, I will. The cat meowed, count me in. The pig squealed, I'll help too. Wonderful, said the hen. Let's get started right away. Together, they planted the seeds, watered them, and cared for them with love. When the wheat grew tall, they all helped harvest it under the warm summer sun. They carried it to the mill, ground it into flour, and baked the bread together. When the golden loaf was ready, the little red hen smiled and said, "Now we can all share." Everyone gathered around and enjoyed the delicious bread, laughing and talking happily. From that day on, no one ever said, "Not I," again. When everyone works together, everyone shares the reward. The little red hen, the reward of hard work and helping hands. Once upon a time, on a peaceful little farm, there lived a cheerful little red hen. She spent her days clucking happily and caring for her tiny yellow chicks. One sunny morning, while pecking near the barn, she found a handful of golden wheat seeds. "Oh my," she said, "if I plant these, we could have fresh bread someday." She looked around and called, "Who will help me plant these seeds?" "Not I," said the dog, stretching in the sun. "Not I," yawned the cat, curling her tail by the fence. "Not I," oinked the pig, rolling in the mud with a grin. The little red hen sighed but smiled. "Then I will do it myself." She scratched the soil, dropped the seeds, and watered them carefully. Days turned to weeks, and the seeds sprouted into tall green wheat. The hen looked at the waving stalks and clapped her wings happily. "Now it's time to harvest the wheat," she said. "Who will help me cut the wheat?" she called out again. "Not I," barked the dog from under the tree. "Not I," purred the cat, polishing her paws. Not I, grunted the pig, munching on leftover corn. The little red hen shook her head gently. Then I will do it myself. She cut the wheat stalks one by one, humming a cheerful tune. Snip, snip, snip went her beak as she worked through the field. By evening, she had gathered a tall, golden bundle of wheat. Now the wheat must be ground into flour, she said thoughtfully. Who will help me carry it to the mill? She called. Not I, growled the dog, wagging his tail lazily. Not I, meowed the cat, licking her whiskers. Not I, snorted the pig, splashing in the puddle. The hen nodded kindly. Then I will do it myself. She carried the heavy wheat to the mill, step by step, until she returned with soft white flour. She smiled proudly. Now I can bake some bread. Who will help me bake the bread? She asked brightly. Not I, mumbled the dog in his sleep. Not I, said the cat, stretching lazily. Not I, said the pig, yawning loudly. Then I will do it myself, said the little red hen cheerfully. She mixed the flour with water, added yeast and salt, and kneaded the dough carefully. Pat, pat, pat went her wings as she shaped the soft loaf. She placed it in the oven, and soon the smell of warm bread filled the air. It smells delicious, said the hen, fluttering her wings. The dog lifted his nose. What's that wonderful smell? The cat sniffed. It smells like fresh, tasty bread. The pig's stomach rumbled. I'm starving. They all ran to the hen's kitchen eagerly. The little red hen placed the golden loaf on the table. Who will help me eat the bread? She asked kindly. I will, barked the dog quickly. I will, purred the cat, licking her lips. I will, squealed the pig, hopping with excitement. The little red hen shook her head. No, you will not. You did not help me plant, harvest, carry, or bake, so I will eat it myself. The dog's ears drooped. The cat looked down. The pig sighed sadly. The hen sliced the bread and shared it with her chicks instead. Crunch, munch, yum, went the happy little family. The smell of fresh bread filled the air as the others watched quietly. Finally, the dog said softly, "Next time, I'll help." The cat nodded. Me too. I've learned my lesson. The pig added, "Hard work looks much better than hunger." The hen smiled warmly. Good. When we all help, we all share. The next morning, she found more wheat seeds in the field. Who will help me plant these? She asked again. The dog barked, I will. The cat meowed, "Count me in." The pig squealed, "I'll help too." "Wonderful," said the hen. "Let's get started right away." Together, they planted the seeds, watered them, and cared for them with love. When the wheat grew tall, they all helped harvest it under the warm summer sun. They carried it to the mill, ground it into flour, and baked the bread together. When the golden loaf was ready, the little red hen smiled and said, "Now we can all share." Everyone gathered around and enjoyed the delicious bread, laughing and talking happily. From that day on, no one ever said, "Not I," again. When everyone works together, everyone shares the reward. Magic pot. Once upon a time, in a small Indian village surrounded by green hills, lived a poor farmer named Hare. Hare worked hard every day in his little field, growing vegetables and rice to feed his family. One hot afternoon, while digging near a mango tree, his spade struck something hard. He brushed away the soil and found an old clay pot buried deep in the ground. Hare lifted it carefully and said to himself with surprise, "What is this pot doing here?" He looked inside, but found nothing, so he decided to take it home. At home, Hare placed his spade inside the pot while washing his hands. When he turned back, he was shocked. Now there were 2 spades inside the pot. "This pot has doubled my spade." Curious, he placed a coin inside the pot and waited. To his amazement, the pot produced 2 identical coins. "This is no ordinary pot. It's a magic pot." He thanked the gods with folded hands and said humbly, "May I use this gift wisely." Soon, Hare used the pot to double his seeds, tools, and even food. He shared the extra grains with his neighbors and became loved across the village. But one greedy landlord from the next village heard about the pot and grew jealous. "If that pot can double things, I must have it." That night, he sneaked into Hare's house and stole the magic pot. The next morning, he laughed greedily and said to himself, "Now I'll be the richest man in the land." He dropped a bag of gold coins into the pot and waited. A second bag of gold appeared, shining brightly. "Ha! It works! I am unstoppable!" He placed more gold, jewels, and ornaments into the pot, and each time they doubled. Soon, greed filled his heart completely. "If I put myself inside, maybe the pot will make 2 of me." He laughed and climbed into the pot, and immediately there were 2 greedy landlords. But the pot did not stop. It began to tremble and glow bright red. Whir! Whoosh! Smoke filled the room, and hundreds of greedy landlords spilled out, shouting and fighting. Each shouted, "The gold is mine!" and chaos filled the house. The noise grew so loud that the villagers came running. They gasped in shock at the sight of hundreds of identical landlords fighting for gold. Hare arrived too and understood immediately what had happened. He said calmly, "The pot multiplies whatever it touches, even greed." He walked forward and covered the pot with a thick cloth, saying softly, "You have done enough, my friend." Instantly, all the copies vanished, leaving only the original landlord trembling in fear. Hare said gently to him, "We must use blessings wisely, or they turn into curses." The landlord fell to his knees and said in shame, "Forgive me, Hare. My greed has blinded me." Learn from this and share what you have with others. From that day, the landlord gave food and gold to the poor and became a changed man. Hare placed the pot safely near the temple and never used it again. He told the villagers with a smile, "The magic was never in the pot. It was in the heart that stays honest." Everyone bowed to him and said, "Truly, generosity brings peace, and greed multiplies misfortune." The magic pot stayed silent forever, reminding everyone of the lesson it had taught. Greed multiplies misfortune, but kindness multiplies happiness. The honest woodcutter. Honesty is the best policy. Once upon a time, in a quiet forest by a sparkling river, lived a poor but honest woodcutter. Every morning he carried his old axe and went deep into the woods to cut firewood. He worked hard from sunrise to sunset and earned just enough to feed his family. One warm afternoon, as he chopped wood near the riverbank, his axe slipped from his hands. Splash! The axe fell into the deep water and disappeared. "Oh no! That was my only axe! How will I work now?" He sat sadly beside the river, his eyes full of tears. Suddenly, the water began to shimmer with golden light. Out of the river rose a beautiful river goddess. She asked the woodcutter kindly, "Why are you crying, good man?" "My axe slipped into the river, and now I cannot earn my bread." The goddess smiled and said warmly, "Don't worry, let me see if I can find it for you." She dipped into the water and emerged holding a glittering golden axe. She asked the woodcutter with a gentle smile, "Is this your axe?" The woodcutter shook his head and replied truthfully, "No, kind lady, that is not mine. Mine was made of iron and quite old." The goddess nodded approvingly and disappeared again beneath the water. When she rose the second time, she held a silver axe that shone like the moon. She asked the woodcutter again with patience, "Is this your axe?" The woodcutter smiled shyly and said, "No, that is not mine either. Mine was plain and rusty." The goddess dipped one last time and came back with a simple iron axe. She asked the woodcutter with a gentle smile, "Is this your axe?" "Yes, that's my axe! Thank you so much!" The goddess said kindly, "Your honesty has touched my heart. Take all 3 axes as a reward." "But I only need my own axe, noble goddess." The goddess insisted with a smile, "You deserve them. Honest hearts are rare in this world." The woodcutter accepted the axes with gratitude and returned home joyfully. The next day, his greedy neighbor noticed the shining tools and grew curious. "How did you get those beautiful axes?" The woodcutter told him the entire story truthfully. The neighbor's eyes sparkled as he said, "I'll do the same, but smarter." He rushed to the same river with a brand new axe in his hands. He threw his axe into the water on purpose and began to cry loudly. Soon, the river goddess appeared again, holding the golden axe. She asked the neighbor kindly, "Is this your axe?" The greedy man shouted quickly, "Yes, yes, that's mine!" "You are lying. Greed darkens the heart." She vanished into the river, taking all the axes with her. "Wait! Give me back my axe!" But no one answered. He went home empty-handed and ashamed. Later, he saw the honest woodcutter working happily with his old axe. The neighbor lowered his head and whispered, "I should have told the truth." The goddess never appeared to him again, for honesty cannot be faked. From that day on, the greedy man worked hard and never lied again. The woodcutter continued his simple, honest life and was loved by everyone in the village. The river sparkled each morning as if blessing the honest heart of the woodcutter. Honesty is the best policy. It brings rewards that last forever.